The Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.
Well, on Monday night, we might have El SACKICO. And of course, it doesn't involve AFC Bournemouth, but we could have the benefits of this, and also it could go against us. Plus, we might also have contributed in our former manager's sacking. Now, before I get stuck into this, here's a little bit about our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. Find out what they can do for you, visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk. So, of course, two managers really under pressure. I want to give my thoughts. I want to give my honest opinion to both West Ham and Wolves fans. Of course, I've got West Ham fans in the family, but also I have grown very, very close to a lot of Wolves fans, and therefore I want to give my opinions on both Julen Lopetegui and Gary O'Neill. Now, let's be honest, Lopetegui from the start of this season has not, and I've got to be honest, has not been good enough. That West Ham team, when you signed the likes of Kilman, Fulkrug, Somerville, you name it, he should be getting more of a tune out of that side. David Moyes was sacked because of the boring football that West Ham were playing. But West Ham have sacked the most successful manager in their Premier League era since Harry Redknapp. You know, I think anybody, you know, be it a West Ham fan or another fan, can probably agree with me on that point, that West Ham have sacked David Moyes after he's done a very good job, but it wasn't attractive football. Should he have been getting more of a tune? I spoke to the tap-in and I spoke to Will and Izzy on there, and I did say that the players that West Ham had, you know, David Moyes should have been getting more out of. I stand by that. My opinion on that hasn't changed. But what Lopetegui has done is he's come in and he's trying to play this different style from what I've seen, and it has not worked. Now, if something is not working, you have to revert to a type. It is a results-based business, you know, and a lot of our fans at the time, when, you know, we were going through a bit of a rough spell with Andoni Iraola, and yes, I did turn around, and I will honestly admit it, I thought that it wasn't Andoni's tactics so much, but it was more that the players weren't able to implement the style of play that he was asking them to actually perform. That's personally what I thought. And, you know, I gave my honest opinion on that. And that has not changed one bit. I think personally, you know, at the time, he was struggling because he was persisting with the tactics. You know, the players weren't able to play it, but he did mix it up, and we did, you know, change into this side, you know, that plays the football that we do now. I did turn around and I said about Jesse Marsh, yes, Everybody could laugh at me about that. I'm happy to take. I'm happy to take that. To be perfectly honest, because I was completely and utterly wrong. Andoni Iraola is a fantastic coach. I'm not saying Lopetegui isn't a fantastic coach, but he needs to be able to adapt. Andoni Iraola didn't adapt at first. That's why we got to the point where we was like, is this going to work at all? The Everton 3-0 defeat, the defeat by Wolves at home, yes, the side that we are going to mention in a moment. Lopetegui has got a better side than David Moyes, but is doing a far, far, far worse than what Moyes is doing. I can't see a way out of this for him, personally. I can't see a way out of this. I think he will be in charge for the SACKICO game against Wolverhampton Wanderers on Monday night, because personally, I don't think they've got enough time to actually make a change now. If they make a change now in a game which could effectively be very, very important at the London Stadium, let's be honest, they need to win that game. They don't want to be pulled into the relegation dogfight, nor do any other team. I don't think Everton is still safe from it, even though they won against Wolves. Of course, we'll discuss that in a moment. But I don't think they've got enough time to do anything. After that game, I think they've got plenty of time, and I think that's what they'll wait for. I've seen both of these games, and I watched them in their entirety, and I think both managers have lost the dressing room. Both managers have lost the dressing room. Let's stay on West Ham for a moment, because they were absolutely diabolical against Leicester City. Yes, there was possibly that new manager bounce for Leicester under Ruud van Nistelrooy, but still, it was a shower of shit. To be perfectly honest, it was a shower of shit, and West Ham fans do deserve better. They deserve better than that. That was an absolute shambles of a performance by their side. No wonder they are frustrated. No wonder the fans are angry. Lopetegui seems to be making some very, very strange substitutions which don't look like they're impacting the game at all. They should not be getting beat by that scoreline by Leicester City, a side who have just recently been promoted, a side that have recently been really struggling to get going. Of course, I speak to Chris a lot, as you will know. I speak to Brad a lot, and their running, mantra is: are the players good enough to play in the top flight? I think personally, Leicester are probably on that borderline at this moment in time in terms of quality. Now, a good manager will get them over the line and will keep them up and by some distance. Can we say, and I know this is what I'm going to say now is quite harsh, can we say that when AFC Bournemouth were promoted back in 2015, it was remarkable? It was a massive achievement, but that squad of players, could we honestly say that that squad of players were instantly ready for Premier League football? I think some were, some surprised us and were. I think some struggled and adapted eventually. It took some time, but we had a very, very, very good manager behind us. And that is why I say the Leicester City situation, they're on the borderline. West Ham, with the quality they have got, with what they've done recently, and I mean recently in European football, should be beating Leicester City hands down. And the fact that they've got beaten and by some scoreline is it's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. So Lopetegui, I think personally, is on hide into nothing. The sooner he leaves the London Stadium, I think for West Ham fans, like I say, I'm a Bournemouth fan. I'm giving my opinion. You might agree with it or disagree with it. You can leave it in the comments. You can tell me anything you want. By all means, I think he is a dead man walking, and he will be sacked, and he has got no chance of keeping that job. And I think Do West Ham go back to David Moyes? Do they go to type till the end of the season? Will Moyes really want to do that? Or will they go to somebody like Graham Potter, who, of course, is being mentioned by the other team that I want to mention, because, of course, they're playing each other. And that is Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now, I hate to say this because I've met Gary in person. He's a very likable man. He's a very determined man. He's a very astute man. He's very analytical. And, it it grinds on me that I'm having to say this. But again, you look at that Wolves team and how they played against ourselves. Now, I think that they played better against us than they did last night against Everton. Everton are not, and I say this, and again, lots of really, really lovely Everton fans that come on this channel. I'm not knocking your side. I am just saying it as it is, and I'm sure a lot of you will agree with me. Everton are not, and I mean not, a very good team. They're not a very good team. They play ugly, but they have got an effective manager. Now, take it back to when Gary O'Neill was manager of AFC Bournemouth. One thing that you could say about Gary O'Neill was that his football was effective. He had that wobble after the World Cup. There was talks of him being sacked. Of course, Marcelo Bielsa was linked as well. Kajil Knutson was linked with coming to this football club. He went through that wobble and come out of it the other end, and he got the job done. It wasn't pretty. It was damn ugly at times, but results actually are the thing that matters. You could play beautiful football. You could play football like AFC Bournemouth do, passing it around, it's sexy football. But if you get relegated at the end of the season, you are still relegated to the Championship. It doesn't matter what you play. So, yeah, I do not agree with the fan base of this football club who turned round and said that Gary O'Neill is a PE teacher, a clown, made even worse. Of course, I interviewed Dave on here recently. Dave has a party from Talking Wolves, and I picked out one comment which said that he was a Muppet. Not Dave, Gary O'Neill. Don't worry, Dave. But, they said that Gary O'Neill was a Muppet. And we both come to the agreement that that was quite harsh. That was quite harsh. There was other factors, at Wolves like Fosun, but some of the blame has to be on Gary's door. After the two games, and after watching Wolves in two games, my opinion has sadly changed. Because, like I say, I want to see Wolves do well. They are a side whose fans have been really, really good to me. They're a nice bunch of fans, actually, and I've got on well with them. After watching them, and remember, Cunha absolutely ran his heart out in both of these games. He has lost the dressing room. There is no doubt about it. There is no doubt about it. And Gary O'Neill, I hate to say this, cannot stay as Wolverhampton Wanderers manager. There is no way about it. Is he going to be sacked before Monday? No, I don't think in a million years is Gary O'Neill going to be sacked before Monday, because there is too little time to get a replacement. It is a big game, of course, Monday. And one of these managers, at least, I cannot see, one manager at least being sacked. If both of them survive this, well, bloody hell. What are both clubs doing? I tell you what I think will happen. I think they'll both get sacked, both next week. I don't think this result will actually make any slight bit of difference. I think West Ham will probably get the 3 points because I think they have probably got that edge in quality. And no disrespect to Wolves, I think they've got that edging quality. But Wolves could still, if they were played the right way, if a Wolves at full strength and full flow could easily beat West Ham if West Ham, are playing like they are. So it's not a foregone conclusion, this, but both managers, Gary O'Neill, his substitutions again, last night were shocking. The defensive movements, I am sorry, but for that second goal, what were the Wolves defence doing? What actually were the Wolves defence doing? Jose Sarr, a goalkeeper that, has always looked fairly decent, looks absolutely devoid of any fucking confidence whatsoever at the moment. He's a goalkeeper that, they have to rest for some games, but what are they going to actually do? They've got Sam Johnston on the bench. I would bring him in. If I was Gary, bring him in. But why persist with what is not working? Of course, they've had this fantastic win against Fulham, this 4-1 win. I don't even think this would have been a conversation if that hadn't have happened, because I think Gary would be sacked. But I've got to be honest, as much as I like Gary and as much as I appreciate the work he did at AFC Bournemouth, that was an absolute shambles that I watched last night, as was the West Ham game against Leicester. An absolute shambles. An absolute shambles. And both managers, I think, will lose their jobs, next week. I can't see either of them surviving. I think both of them were very, very poor, in their substitutions, their lineups. Of course, we play West Ham after they've played Wolves. So this could have a real big impact on AFC Bournemouth. Firstly, we've just played the team that, of course, Gary O'Neill manages, Wolverhampton Wanderers. So we've beaten them 4-2. Three penalties. I don't think anybody could argue with. Anybody who is a neutral will probably be able to say they were rash decisions by the Wolves players. They were, an element of quality, from our players. Evan Nielsen in particular. But the one thing you can say is that Wolves, have their lineup, their setup, how they approach games. He's lost the dressing room, the substitutions. Even against us, I was just scratching my head thinking, what actually is he doing? I don't actually see what he's doing. He's making it easier for ourselves. It's making it. I thought he was actually thinking he was the AFC Bournemouth manager, and he was just making some substitutions for the other team because he was thinking, well, I'll make it bloody easy for my team to win. It's like when you used to play on FIFA 98, and you change the players around and swap fucking defender, stick him up front, and stick a defender in fucking a forward in defence. It was the substitutions made zero sense. Same with Lopetegui. He is not utilising his team properly. His formations are not working. If something is not working, he's too not arrogant, but he's too one-minded to actually change anything. So that is my honest opinion. You can agree with it or disagree with it. Both managers in this El SACKICO have got the foot in both each other's camps. Of course, Gary O'Neill was former West Ham player. Julen Lopetegui, we know he was a Wolves manager. And of course, Gary O'Neill replaced Lopetegui after Lopetegui walked out with 5 days of the season to go, which was, absolute fucking shambles from Lopetegui there as well. I thought when that happened, he should have a lot more respect for the football club that he's just left. The football club that paid his wages, the football club that looked after him, and should have probably stayed or done it a lot more in advance of when he did it. That's my honest opinion. Wolves fans, West Ham fans, just tell me what you think. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell. Tell me what you think. Do you think I am talking absolute shit? Or do you think that I have got justification here? Will Lopetegui be in charge when West Ham visit AFC Bournemouth? Or will it be a caretaker or another manager, maybe Graham Potter? Both sides are being linked to him. Who will be on that bus ready for his first game, as I can imagine it might be? Yeah, let me know what you think. Thank you again for checking us out. Check out all the interviews as well that we do. Lots of stuff on there. And we will do a lot more of these just reactions to what is going on in the football world. Over and out. Thanks for joining me. I'm Craig. We'll see you soon.
The Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.